We can start recording. Great. Just 1 second, pulling up the agenda. So for the purposes of public disclosure, recorded information, and by the way, a formal call to order, we're going to first, after calling the meeting to order and recording the meeting, we're letting people know that the meeting will be on permanent public access on the CB2 YouTube archive. Please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. And please, community board members and committee members, keep your cameras on for full transparency. And we encourage all attendees to also leave their cameras on if you're given the floor to speak. We will make it known when and which topics are open for comment, first by committee members, then by board members at large, and then the general public. If you wish to speak, we don't have that many people, so usually you can use your digital raise or lower hand feature, but when it's the session for your category to speak, you can feel free to jump in. If you're having any difficulties with Webex during the meeting, you can consult help.webex.com, or after the meeting, you can reach out to the district office at bko2.cb.nyc.gov. And if you require accommodation for any physical ability or limitation, you can contact the district office 72 hours prior to any public meeting. And Carol Ann, do we have any accommodations for this meeting?
No requests for any.
Okay, great. So we'll start with the introduction of committee members, and then we'll move on to the agenda. So I am Juliet Cullen-Chung, Chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee, and my co-chair?
Cheryl Gelbs.
And the secretary?
John Quint. You want me to call the roll, Juliet?
Ernest Augustus.
Thank you. Brian?
Did you call my name?
Yep.
Yes.
Brian Howald.
Carol Ann?
Carol Ann Church, I'm not a member, I'm staffing.
Thank you. Doreen?
Doreen Gallo, member of the committee and member of the board.
Thank you. Sid?
Sid Meyer, member of the committee, member of the board.
Sandy?
Andy Balboza. Am I on?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yep, we hear you.
We hear you.
Sandy Balboza, committee member.
Thanks. Patrick?
Patrick Kalaki, committee member, also a New York City Transit employee, so I'll be bowing out of that portion of the meeting or not participating.
Okay, thanks. Caroline? Caroline, you're on mute. We also have Caroline Todd, who's a public member of our committee. She may be having technical difficulties. Since we have very few other people on this call, I would love to introduce also the other board members and the other people on the committee. So first with the board members, Latrell, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Latrell Marcel, board member. Thank you. And
Esther Blount, are you? She's just stepped away, but she was there. I would like to get to our guest of honor, Andy. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Wow, guest of honor. Wow.
Every time you come.
I appreciate that, Juliet. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Inglesby, Assistant Director for Government and Community Relations for MTA New York City Transit.
Thank you. And then Christina. I see you're from Fab Fulton Alliance.
Yes, hi, sorry. Just joining here for the conversation to listen in. Thank you.
Great. Deborah Schaefer.
Yes, hi, I'm here as just a resident of the Dumbo neighborhood, and I want to speak about something later.
Evo.
Yep, also a Dumbo resident. Just wanted to ask a few questions and listen in.
Thank you. I think we had a member of an assembly person's office.
Hi, this is Olavia Bello with Assemblymember Simon. I think my colleague Donna Newton is on as well.
Great, thank you both. Are you here to speak about a particular issue?
I'm not, I'm here to listen in.
Okay, great. And then Kevin Duggan?
Hi, everyone. It's Kevin Duggan. I'm with Brooklyn Paper.
Okay, great. Thank you. So since it's a small, intimate setting, I'm glad everybody is able to know who's here. Oh, Chris Bastian, sorry about that.
Hi, Chris Bastian, Transportation Chair of the Brooklyn Heights Association.
Great. Could you repeat transportation chair of which?
Brooklyn Heights Association.
Great. Thank you. So I would like approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Great. John and Sid. And then Andy, we're gonna hand it over to you. You have our list of questions. I don't know if Caroline, we can do a sharing screen sort of situation so that everybody can also read the questions we submitted. Andy, feel free to jump into them.
I don't think Thea passed it over. I don't know if she's on. Thea, are you on? Thank you. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry, just give me 1 second.
Yeah, thank you. While Caroline's pulling that up, Andy, are you going to be answering the first question about signage at Fulton?
Well, I'm actually going to be, what I actually did is, I know I usually go through them, you know, one by one in order, but what I did is I actually grouped them by topic. If that's okay, I can talk about projects.
Then it would be better for you to just talk about it then.
Okay.
You don't have to share the screen. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, I just want to thank the committee for having me. It's always a pleasure to be before CB2, a very active transportation committee, and you got a lot of projects that I would like to talk to you about. First and foremost, I just want to say I hope everybody is well and safe during these continued tough times. A big, healthy hello, and I hope everybody is well from MTA and New York City Transit to the community. Look, we have lost. We've had a tough time individually at MTA and New York City Transit. We've lost over 150 employees during COVID, but we continue to provide essential service and get everyone to where they need to go. So we're very happy that we're continuing, and we've been continuing to do that throughout the pandemic. As people know, back in May, we closed the subway from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. so we could deep clean it and disinfect it. Just a little while ago, we increased the hours of operation from so that we're only not operating from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And the ultimate goal is to get the subway back into service 24 hours. We don't have a definite timeline for that yet, but that definitely is the ultimate goal, and that's been mentioned by our chairman Pat Foy and our MTA New York City Transit President Sarah Feinberg on multiple occasions. So that still remains the ultimate goal. Once we have a definite schedule, we'll certainly let the community know. I also want to tell you that, subway and bus ridership is increasing. Last Friday, March 12th, we had our highest ridership since the pandemic, actually. 1.9 million people took the subway on Friday, March 12th. 1.1 million people took the bus. So it's just about 3 million people that we had. Still a far cry from what we were experiencing pre-COVID, but we are hopeful that that's a step in the right direction. Also, I can tell you that the recent project that we did, which completely replaced the elevators at the Borough Hall 2, 3, 4, 5 station, has been completed. That was completed just a couple of days ago, actually. We started that in July of last year. And when we started, we said we would be finishing up in spring of 2021. So I guess spring starts over the weekend. So I guess we beat it by about a week or so. So we're very happy that we were able to get that project finished on schedule and on budget. Once again, that was a complete replacement of the ADA elevators at the Borough Hall 2, 3, 4, 5 station. And also, this meeting is fortuitous because today, and I know that Carol Ann, I sent the community board an email about this, as well as the local elected officials. We completed the J Street arcade escalator and staircase replacement. So we started that actually in May of 2019 with the North Arcade complete closure, and we completely rehabilitated the stairs and the escalators of both the North and the South Arcade. So that actually finished today. So breaking news. We're very happy that we were able to do that, and we were able to do that project in conjunction with NYU. So we're very happy about that as well. And then I also can tell you that the Rutgers 2 project, which the community has been very, very patient about, basically what that's been doing is we've been replacing the F train service with along the C line for almost every weekend and overnight period throughout the course of this year, and we started that project in 2020. So that project is wrapping up as well, and we're looking to finish that by the end of this month. So a lot of good stuff as far as projects wrapping up or already wrapped up and soon to be wrapped up in CB2. I know that's a little separate from the questions that you guys asked, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of all that stuff. So what I did as far as the questions were concerned is I broke it down into station projects and ADA, and then bus, subway, and miscellaneous. So it's okay. I'll start with the station ADA issues. And if you want, do you want me to refer to the questions I'm answering, or you want me just, does it matter?
You can just give, give us the update, and we can just make sure that the questions are being responded to.
So basically, sorry, so questions 2 and 4 basically were pretty much the same thing. So questions 2 and 4 had to do with ADA within CB2. So what I can tell you is that we released our 2020 to 24 capital plan in the fall of 2019. At that time, we said that 70 stations would be ADA accessible. Our goal was to make those 70 stations ADA accessible in the capital plan of 2020 to 24. What I can tell you is that obviously COVID has taken a hit to us regarding the capital plan, but at the same time, we've recently received a lot of money from the federal government and other sources that we're really trying to get the capital plan back on schedule. So I don't have any specific information as far as when the 3 ADA stations that are in the 2020 to 24 plan in CB2 will be started. Those stations are the Borough Hall 4-5 station, the Classen Avenue G station, and Hoyt Skirmahorn on the ACG. So those 3 stations within CB2 are in the capital plan for 2020 to 24. More information will be coming. I'll be notifying the community board, the local elected officials, once we have those elevator projects on a schedule and when they are scheduled. So just wanted to remind you guys that those are 3 of the 70 stations that are in the 2020 to 24 capital plan. There were a couple of questions regarding York Street. So York Street, as you guys know, it's a very, very difficult station for a couple of reasons. We have that long passageway. There's only one entrance and egress. There's a long passageway for our customers to utilize to and from the platform. We've done some studies that have really shown that it's very, very challenging to make the station ADA accessible. And then we also are doing studies currently right now to see how we can put a second entrance egress into the station. So we're not saying 100% no to ADA, but we are reminding you guys, as we said before, that it's very, very challenging. But as far as the second entrance and egress is concerned, we are doing an active study. We are hoping to provide the community with information on that relatively soon. I can't pinpoint a definite schedule, but we would like to assure you that we are looking at this very, very closely. We know it's something that we've heard from the community for many years about now. We are taking, we're taking many, many looks at this because we know how important it is to the community. So I will have more information. I wish I had more of a, definitive information as far as, what we found, but we are in the process of looking at it, and we should have information forthcoming fairly soon. And, we'll certainly let the community board know and the elected officials, and we hope to have a positive response as far as what we can do for York Street. The other question was for Clark Street. As you guys know, the Clark Street 2-3 station, we had announced to the community that we were looking to do a elevator replacement project that we are still looking to do, and we are looking to actually award that contract very soon. Within the next couple of months, we're looking to award the contract for the replacement of all 3 elevators at the Clark Street 2-3 station. And we're looking to start actual construction later on this year. We'll have more information regarding the actual definitive schedule once we have it, but we are looking to bring a contractor on board, as I said, in the next couple of months, and we're looking to start actual construction later on this year. So more information regarding that, but we are looking to take all 3 elevators out of service at the same time. It's the best way to do it. It's time efficient, time effective, and this way we can get in, get all the elevators fixed, and get out as soon as possible. And we're talking about a 7-month project. So we're happy that we're able to have the projects to be right about 7 months.
Can we
a lot more information to come regarding
Can
that.
we pause there and just see if there are comments on these first 3 issues from first community board members?
Yes, this is John Dew.
Yes,
I'm
John.
sorry I'm getting on late, so I didn't hear the first 7 or 8 minutes of this presentation. Andy, how are you?
John, you missed all the good stuff.
Well, I'm sure you'll have every opportunity next month when you come back to talk about when we're going to do York Street. Andy, it's been, I don't know, I want to say 16 years since we did the downtown upzoning that MTA agreed to make all of the elevators ADA compliant, so that you're not able to pin down a time frame. It's just so unfortunate. But we hear this every year, Andy. Every year we hear the same thing about York Street. What I don't understand is how we're able to build these stations in Hudson Yards and we get extended another mile, and the elevators are 2 miles, 2 stories underground, all this fanciness, and we can't do York Street, which, by the way, is not only not ADA compliant, it's an emergency kind of station. Station looks like a rock quarry if you go there. It's an embarrassment. And with the building of Brooklyn Bridge Park and all the work that's happening in Dumbo, that York Street station is critical. Can we get a York Street czar that will manage all of what's necessary to turn that station into a second exit and ADA compliant?
Well, we certainly have, not necessarily a czar, but we certainly have a lot of people from our MTA construction and development team that are working on this very, very closely, John. You know, we're taking the station very seriously. Look, the initial stations in Brooklyn on the F, A, and 2-3 lines are very, very challenging, ADA wise. High Street, York Street, Clark Street. You know, we've done ADA tests there, studies, feasibility studies, and you know there's a lot of issues at those stations. As I said, we're looking to see what we can do. We're not saying completely no, but you know, I mean, there's a lot of challenges there, and for me to be say, you know,
you're not completely no. That's not fair, Andy. You're not saying completely no, but nothing's happening. We haven't seen a plan. We have no idea. We hear all these studies. What exactly is being studied? We hear that it's being studied every year.
Can you tease us on some information? You know, like is a second egress going into York Street being looked at that doesn't connect into that long tunnel, or does it connect on the other side of the tunnel, or you know what? Like, can you just give us any additional information of what's being studied?
We're looking at the entire station. You know, we're looking at the entire station to see what we can do. I mean, I can't. I would be lying to you if I said, you know, we were looking at, you know, one area in particular, because we're really looking to see what we can do with the whole station. And you know, I mean, I know you guys are frustrated, but I mean, you know, the fact that we're taking our time to see what we can do is, you know, it should be a sign that, you know, we're really considering what are the possibilities that we can do.
You're just throwing sentences together. You've had more time than ever. What's happening? How much spillover when Clark Street goes under construction is going to go over to the York Street station? You know, people have to move around and make accommodations when things are closed off, which is going to be the case with Clark Street. High Street is not ADA compliant. Yeah, you know, we keep hearing the same thing. It's just a height of frustration for the community to hear the same thing every year.
Yes, Doreen.
I can tell you that we're happy that we were able to get the Borough Hall elevators done and replaced, because we feel a lot of our customers, when the Clark Street Station project is done, is underway, that they'll be utilizing the Borough Hall elevators.
It was good to start with the progress. Yeah.
And they would just completely.
Hi, Andy. Nice to see you. And it was good to talk to you yesterday. I just want to know, because our council member was saying that his conversations with MTA kind of resulted with thinking that the second egress would be around Sand Street, not connected at York. So is that something that you're familiar with? And also somebody in the chat, one of our community members, Nick DeSantis, wanted to know, when you say soon, are we talking about, you know, it's always been soon. So it's been, you know, is it 6 months? Is it 3 months? Is it 3 weeks that we're going to hear back from the NTA? And then lastly, March 2019, we're on record for, you know, asking you to review just how dangerous it is, and that, you know, in a leap of good faith, that you would consider moving the turnstiles, you know, kind of away from the entrance. It's that's such a cinch point. It's where the box is and everything.
So I don't have any information as far as specifically Sand Street. You know, I know the council member Levin might have had some discussions with with people within transit. But as far as our official answer tonight, you know, we're still looking at everything within the station. So we're not gonna. I can't pinpoint that we're going to be doing Sand Street. We're looking at all possible options for the station. As far as the turnstiles, you know, are really determined on what we decide to do with the second. If we could do something with the second egress, I mean, that's going to be part and parcel with the second egress. So once we have information about what we can do with putting a second egress entrance in there, that would probably be lending itself to information about the turnstiles.
Really, that seems almost like it has nothing to do with it. It seems like something that should be looked at immediately, because it has been decades that we're talking about this station and this issue, and that with the amount of development and, you know, the fact that you're doing the Rutgers Tunnel, it seemed like a great opportunity to kind of think about it. And then about the timetable, I mean, I don't think they relate, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And so with the timetable, when are you coming back, do you think, about?
You know, I can't give you a definitive answer. I mean, I don't think it's certainly not going to be years. I can tell you that. It's not going to be multiple.
So it'll be this year.
Not going to be multiple months. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be fairly soon. You know, we're working on this diligently, and you know, there's a lot of people involved in seeing what we can do.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from community board members?
Hi, this
Cyril, Cyril, I see you joined. I don't know if you were on when we heard about Clark Street 2-3. You're muted still, Cyril. All right, I think Cyril is still having trouble unmuting. So we'll come back to you, Cyril. We'll come back to you.
I got it. I missed the first
Great.
part. I'm sorry. Thank you for asking. I missed the Clark Street info, unfortunately. As it relates to myself, it's quite critical.
Yes, we heard that all of the elevators are going to be replaced at the same time, rather than
at the same time. And the dates?
We're looking to award the contract in the next couple of months, and the construction will start later this year. We'll have more definitive dates and information for you once the contractor comes on board.
And Andrew, one more question. When do you think they will be in operation then?
Roughly first part of next year.
First part of next year, so January, February.
Keep going.
Well, if you're giving out the contracts, so that means you didn't settle on the contract. You're giving them out. So basically, that takes time.
We're looking to start the actual construction in the fall, so we'll have more information. You know, once we actually award the contract, which should be in the next month or two, we will be able to provide a much more definitive schedule, a construction schedule. But right now, I can tell you that we're looking to start the work later on. You know, the latter part of this year.
Great, thank you. Caroline, I saw your hand up. Oh, no, okay.
Hi, this is Latrell.
Yes, Latrell, go ahead.
Hi, I wanted to piggyback what my colleagues said in the community board. I guess my concern is being ADA, appliance for people with disabilities, and also for parents with, young kids, people with other disabilities, other concerns. We really do need an elevator in York Street train station. And also with the growing community, the community is getting larger and larger every day. And during rush hour, it's so many people coming in and out. It serves not only the Farragut and Dumbo community, but the people who use bus 69 coming down Flushing Avenue, and also people who work in the Navy Yard. So the population is increasing, So something needs to take place in York Street train station.
Thank you. We certainly understand the community's concern, and that's why we're looking to see what we can do.
Thanks, Latrell. Sandy?
Yeah, York Street, it's not my regular stop, but I have used it occasionally over the years. Has there ever been a lawsuit? It seems it's so dangerous. If something would happen down there, would a lawsuit speed it up, or would it delay it more? Or, I mean, couldn't be delayed any more than it is.
I think that's rhetorical, right, Sandy?
Rhetorical.
Okay. Any non-community board members? Yes, Cheryl, good.
Yeah, hi. I'm a resident of Farragut Houses, longtime resident, and the York Street train station has always been dark. It's always been desolate. It's always been dangerous. And my concern is you're throwing all of this money in Brooklyn Heights and wherever, but it's like you're always making York Street and the residents around that area take a back seat for improvements. And, I kind of sort of take a little bit of offense to that. Is it because most of the people at the York Street station are basically residential and not businesses? Is it the economic situation? Is it the monetary? Is it class? Is it something? Because to do all of this basic renovations in Brooklyn Heights, Dumbo, which is upcoming, which has a large income, you're like leaving us out there to do whatever. And I don't think that's fair. And I think we need a more definitive answer as to what you're going to do about the safety of the constituents that use the F train, the York Street subway station. Because coming out of that station at night, you either have to be very, very brave or have somebody meet you there. I don't know if anybody at transit has used that station, but it is dark. So with the area being gentrified, more people using it, the safety, the ADA concerns, I think this transportation meeting that we're having, you really need to pause and take a good look and stop putting the York Street station on the back burner. I mean, what is it going to take? Does someone actually have to get hurt before you do something when it's something that you know needs work? I just don't understand. And I'd like to. I'm done for right now. No response?
Andy, if you'd like, I would suggest from that, maybe taking the lighting as a opportunity that could be addressed more immediately. We do understand that the engineering of a second egress does, it's complicated at this particular location because it is so deep and it wasn't designed, it was designed many years before we had all of these users that have compounded the problem by making it, more dangerous. But this is how the community feels.
Look, we completely understand, and as I said, we're not trying to slight York Street. Look, you guys have within CB2, you guys have very important stations, and I'm sorry you feel slighted. It's not meant to be slight in any way, shape, or form. And as I don't know how to say it enough. We're looking really, really strongly at what we can do, and we're gonna look to have an answer for you guys really, really soon. It's just as Juliet, as you just said, it's a really, really complicated study. And, you know, I mean, if we had come back with a definitive answer for you guys, if we had done that already, the answer would have been no. I mean, we already said that, right, the initial study was that ADA was infeasible, but we're not accepting that right now. We're looking to see what we can do. So instead of saying no, you're not getting ADA and you're not getting a second egress, we're really looking hard to see what we can do and make it a better station for the community. So, you know, we hear you. I've heard you on many committee meetings, and you know, there's a lot of people working on the entrance and egress study at MTA, and I think I'm going to leave it at that because.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, I'm wondering if the new density bonus program through the Department of City Planning and the Mayor's Office could create a subway at York Street any faster or at any of the stations. Thanks.
So ZF, what you're referring to is ZFA, zoning for accessibility, and I know that the transportation committee's chairs, I believe, are part of a briefing regarding this tomorrow. So, you know, there's I will defer to my partners to my colleagues at DCP and my colleagues at MTA who are working on ZFA, and I know that we're going to have a lot more information regarding that in the coming days. So,
Good question, Caroline. We should research that, and maybe we can get more information when it comes out. Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. I just
Right, Sid Meyer, the article is in the newspaper today on this particular item. It's a Spectrum article. I just sent it over to Caroline and to Juliet. And basically what it says is that they're looking for developers to come in and do this. But they also point out that the two places where the developers have put in elevators in CB2, which are at J Street and at Barclay Center, are among the worst operated elevators in the city. The top 10 worst elevators out of the in the city. Those two make the worst elevators. So while it's nice to get developers to pay for it, it really is a problem when they maintain them, which the MTA knows about.
Thanks, Sid. Did we have any other members of the community that wanted to have input on those three items, ADA accessibility, York Street Station, and Clark Street?
I have a few comments, if that's all right.
Yes, Nicholas.
Regarding the way the capital planning is done at MTA, currently you have a plan that is hopefully being funded by some of the money we just got from the federal government to keep the 2020-2024 capital plan alive and to fill some budget holes. Does that mean even if in the next 3, 6, 9 months you come back and say, all right, we figured out a way to build a second egress and do whatever it is, that we don't get scheduled until at minimum 2025?
I can't give you any information regarding the actual schedule. That's something that would be answered by MTA Construction and Development. And I can see, you know, once we have definitive information about the egress and, you know, I'm sure we'll have, you know, we'll have companion information as far as the schedule and what we're looking to do. So. That'll
I
be,
mean, the MTA project plan is fungible. It means that they can squeeze in other projects that are already scheduled even and put in new projects. I just trying to understand how the MTA works, because if we're going to have to wait 4 more years for even that project to start, then I would like to go back and revisit why we can't have at minimum the turnstiles moved to ease the press that's at that front entrance and only entrance when people are trying to get on the subway in the only 3 turnstiles that exist, and everyone at 5 p.m. is leaving and trying to go through the turnstiles. So if we have to wait for nothing to be done for 5 years, then I think all the residents in CB2 are not going to be happy with this. I just want to understand what we're up against. Can this project possibly get into the queue? You don't know?
No, I don't know what the schedule will be once we announce the project. That's something that will be part and parcel with the project. I'm sure we'll have a timetable when we announce what we can do.
Thank you.
Right.
I think also if you can take back from this that maybe there are some interim improvements that could be done while the longer project is in funding studies or underway for the future, but the moving of the turnstiles and lighting. So maybe if you could take that back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, who's speaking?
It's Ivo Stranich. I'm a member. I'm a Dumbo resident.
Yes, please, Ivo, go ahead.
Yeah, so just second all the comments about York Street, and I kind of have an administrative recommendation. Part of the reason York Street's a problem is because there's been so much upzoning. I totally hear you that York Street is a challenge. It's deep underground. There's engineering challenges, there's financial challenges, and all of that. If that's the case, MTA should take an official position and tell the council members and the city council and the city planning commission that this upgrade will not be done, so that they can then stop upzoning. Because they're constantly basically upzoning stuff, punting to the MTA to do something. The MTA doesn't do something because it's difficult. And if that's the case, please make that an official position so that they're well informed to make their upzoning decisions.
Okay, we hear you.
Yeah. Can I say something? I mean, I'm also here as
Who's speaking? Please introduce yourself.
This is Deborah Schaefer, and I've lived in Dumbo for 8 years, and I don't have anything super different to say, but I need to echo. I feel like I'm taking my life in my hands in that station sometimes. I use the subway a lot, and I actually don't believe that it's that difficult to make the second entrance over at Sand Street. I mean, if you look at the geography of the station and the landscape above, it's just not that difficult to make a second entrance. And there is going to be, I mean, somebody already brought this up. There is going to be, I believe something really bad is going to happen. Ridership went up 40% between 2014 and 2018 at that station. There are 1,000 new units coming on the market in Dumbo, residential units. It's really a disaster waiting to happen, and we're all going to regret it. We're all going to really, really regret it if something isn't done. And I really think at the very minimum, while we're studying the ADA, the second egress has to be punched through and another stairway put in there so people can get out. I mean, God forbid we're trapped under, down 3 flights of stairs on that long, skinny platform with a skinny little exit. And yeah, please do. I mean, it is a disaster waiting to happen.
And I know most are familiar with the incident, but Brian Howell posted that there was a fire in York Street in 2003, which resulted in 100 people being needed to be treated for smoke inhalation because of the confusion over the lack of a southern exit. So I think those are very major issues, and so I'm glad we took the time to talk about it and for Andy to hear from the community about these issues. I would like to hand the mic back over to Mr. Inglesby to continue with the remaining questions.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so the next topic, what I broke down is bus questions. So the first question was about signage at Fulton and Fort Greene Place, indicating that the B38 no longer stops there. So that stop was actually eliminated in May of 2020. And originally there was signage there, from what I've been told, but since it's been 10 months, the signage it was eliminated because it's been 10 months.
It's taken care of. It's been, the people now understand that the B38 no longer stops there. The sign should have been placed when the bus stop was discontinued. People were standing there for a long period of time and the bus would pass them by. They now know to go to the previous block.
Okay, and John, I know you take the bus all the time. I was told that for a while it was up, but now it's not there anymore. The signage is not there anymore. So
I never saw the sign.
Okay.
Caroline? Yes, Caroline.
I will agree with John that there was never a sign, because the first time I realized that the stop was no longer there was after I waited 45 minutes.
I was told that it was in the guide or ride slot, but okay, you guys are the ones who were taking it. So, all right. Well, I'm glad it's resolved. Question number 7 is regarding provide a preliminary update on the ridership and bus speed numbers for the J Street busway. So bear with me 1 second. I have a lot of different. Okay, so I'm happy to report that post-implementation speeds are much faster than in 2019. Southbound speeds increased from anywhere from 27 to 79%, depending on the time of day, while northbound speeds increased 45 to 81%. Preliminary results also show travel time improvements of up to 37% when compared with pre-COVID travel times. And part of this improvement is due to less congestion and fewer riders as a result of the pandemic, but the goal is to maintain these improvements as traffic and ridership return to normal levels. We don't have an update on ridership changes, but we will continue to monitor as customers return to public transit. So, really good news about the J Street busway, and we thank our colleagues at DOT for implementing it. Question 13 was regarding please study relocating the B54 terminus from J Street at the Myrtle Promenade to underneath Metrotech. So we have taken a look at that, and the Metrotech westbound road near side of J Street is narrow, and there's only one lane in each direction, so the bus cannot take recovery time there. So we did take a look at it, and unfortunately, it's not a great space for the layover. 14, contactless payment on buses. So the answer to this is I don't know if the committee member who submitted this question is online. I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit more, but the answer to this is Omni. I know that the last part of the question was saying Omni is not understandable or useful, but we have Omni on every one of our subways and buses now. So I'm not sure, what more I can say about this, but if you're looking for contactless payment and on buses, Omni is available on every bus and every subway now. So, and we are looking to phase it out, and MetroCard will ultimately be disbanded by the end of 2023.
I have a question about that.
I think that's really wonderful.
Right now, Omni does not accept reduced fee MetroCard. You can't use Omni for reduced fee. When is that going to be resolved?
I will find out.
Caroline?
Yeah, so that was part of it was the reduced fare, and the other part is that I think people still don't know what Omni is and that they have it connected to a smartphone. And I think that, just signs in the subway predominantly that say Omni don't actually say, hey, you can hop on the bus with this. And I think that a little education could go a long way in getting the use of that up, as well as connecting it to fair fares and reduced fares. And I think once you have the actual physical tap card, that'll be really cool. Thanks.
Okay. And we also have a dedicated page on our website dedicated to everything Omni. So I would suggest that, you know, for education purposes, you know, people can go to that as well. I understand the smartphone computer issues for some people. So yeah, point well taken.
Can I ask the question?
It's about the Omni?
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question is, what about for people who do not have a smartphone? Unfortunately, everybody do not have a smartphone nowadays.
So there's different, there's different ways that you could utilize Omni. So it's not just smartphone, but as I said, if you go to our website at new.mta.info, it has a big selection of a big page of ways to use it and ways to utilize it. I would defer to that.
Okay, I have another question. Are they planning to put Omni and accessorize too in the future?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next is question 21. Are there any plans to reinstate bus service over the Manhattan Bridge? Not at this time, no. 23. Could MTA share which bus lines in CB2 are equipped with transit signal priority? So currently there are no bus routes with transit signal priority in CB2. We're continuing to work with DOT to expand the TCP program, and I have spoken to our operations planning unit that works with DOT, and I've told them that, you know, CB2 has requested information, and obviously you guys are interested in it. So we're trying to see what we can do. I'll have more information for you guys, you know, once we determine what routes can be done. But we're working to expand the program citywide, and I've made a note that, you know, please look at CB2 routes.
Thank you.
24.
Andy, for that particular program, how does the MTA make a decision on what lines are going to get the priority? Is there a mechanism? How do you gauge what to do it on?
John, I'll find out. I don't have the answer. I know that we work with DOT closely regarding it, so it's a joint effort. But I'll find out more information for you on that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. 24. Plans to roll out more bus lines with forward-facing cameras. Okay. All right. So based upon the procurement schedule, we're looking at first quarter of 2022 for the start of deployment of buses. Activation of routes in Brooklyn would follow after the start of deployment. So we're looking to, as I said, we're looking dependent on capital funding, which, you know, we obviously we have, but we're looking to see what part of the capital funding can be put into this procurement schedule. We are looking to expand the forward-facing cameras in the first quarter of 2022. We're going to have more information for you guys as far as the what routes in Brooklyn will be part of this, and we'll let you guys know. But as I said, it was really dependent on funding, which we recently got. So more information to come on this.
And will they have auto ticketing capabilities?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, number 26. What % of buses are equipped with a collision avoidance system? The collision warning system is an experimental capacity with 145 buses out of the 5,600 total fleet. So 145 out of the 5,600 are outfitted with a pilot collision warning system. Yeah, the system is being refined to account for two factors: better sensitivity during low light and no light conditions, and refined ergonomic design of the operator warning interface. The program is dependent upon additional funds for any expansion beyond the existing pilot program. So right now the pilot has 145 out of the 5,600. So we're looking to get funding for expanding this. Once again, any routes considered for BK2, we'll certainly let you guys know.
Are any of those 146 in Community District 2?
I will find out. I believe there are, but I don't know how many, but I will find out.
Okay.
I'll let you. Just write that down. Okay, number 27. Can you please share the reports of the on-time performance for the B54 and B38 bus lines? Yes. Short answer, yes. Just get to that. All right. So for the B38, September of 2020, it was 77.1%. And then October, 79.9. So basically, the B38, it went from 77.1% in September, slowly increased to 83.9 in January. So it went up about 1 percentage point during that time period to reach a high of January 83.9%. For the B54, pretty much the same thing. It was 76.1% in September of 2020. And it increased by about 1 to 2 percentage points to a high of 83.7% in January. And if you want to compare that to all of Brooklyn, so B38 was 83.9% in January, B54 was 83.7%, and all of Brooklyn, it was 80.9%. So the 38 and 54 were doing a little bit better than the borough-wide buses. For the performance statistics for all bus routes, they can be found on the MTA bus performance dashboard, which is http:// or I guess a / bus dashboard.mta.info /. So http:// bus dashboard.mta.info. But so that's pretty good information, pretty good stats for, and and as far as on-time performance, it's if a bus gets to its destination within 5 minutes of its planned arrival. All right, number 30. Can bus stops be coordinated with treat pit as the rear door of the B38 buses open right onto treat pits? The answer is yes. John, I'm sure you asked this question. John, you with us?
It's a little better now. The bus drivers have gotten acclimated to pulling the bus up most of the time so it doesn't open in front of a tree. But that was a very bad problem early on. It's not as much of a problem.
I'm glad to hear that, John, because I've partially because of you, absolutely. I've really come back to from these committee meetings, and I remember calling them the next day after our last meeting and said, look, you guys have got to, if there's a treat pit, you have to work to make it right for our customers. So that's a big reason. I know some of our stops do have the treat pits. We try to at all times put our bus stops, work with DOT to put our bus stops in places that do not have treat pits, but there's always going to be 1 or 2 that do. So I'm glad that our bus operators are trying to do the right thing and stop in the section of the stop where our customers won't be affected. So that's good.
And I should also add that Broadway is the choke point for both the B38 and B54 buses. Broadway. That's where the buses get clogged and delayed.
Yep, absolutely. All right, and number 32 is about bus operator announcements when there's a construction. And what I tell you is that so when a stop is closed due to construction, road operations sends notifications to our website, and so that they're posted to the website. The information on the website informs customers of the closure and where the substitute bus stop would be. And then depot management is also one of the groups that receives the notifications and informs the bus operators on the route. So bus operators are required to make ADA announcements for designated stops, and should also make announcements informing customers when a stop is closed for any reason. And the bus operators should make the announcements, the stop prior to the closure. So I know you guys take the bus, so if you guys find that is not to be the case, please let me know. But that is the standard protocol. You know, the depots let the bus operators know when there's a closed stop, and they are supposed to make the announcement at least the stop prior to the closed stop. Okay, that completes the bus section. Now I'll just go to subway, miscellaneous subway stuff. The first question is number 11. Why is there dripping tar on the Bronx-bound platform? So let me just get to that. So the tar that we use in some of our stations does drip occasionally, especially in the warm summer periods. We're looking to correct that. I've spoken to the group station manager at the station, and he's looking to rectify this. But as I said, you know, can I ask who asked this question? Have they noticed it recently?
That was me. I have not been there in a few weeks.
Okay.
So I can't tell you, but I noticed it for a few times, and it seemed like the pile was getting thicker, and that's why I.
Okay. So yeah. Once I get the question, I did let the group station manager know, and he's aware of the problem. And as I said, we are trying to use a different type of sealant for at this station and at all of our older stations. So hopefully you'll see an improvement soon. If you don't, please let me know. Okay. And then number 28 was about the what were the operating statistics for the two escalators at Adams Street and High Street. So I have those for you guys. So for both escalators in January 2021 and February 2021, their availability was 94 or 95%. So that's basically they were available for 95% of the operating times. So they were down approximately 4%. I can tell you that one of the escalators was was only operating at 62% in the third quarter of last year, and that was.
And Andy, which was that? Was that the upbound or the down escalator or the up escalator?
I believe it was the down one, because what we did is we upgraded the controller for these escalators during the third quarter and have seen performance improvements since. So we updated we upgraded the escalators, and both of them in the third quarter, one of them was at 83.22%. The other was at 62.85%. But since we upgraded the controller, they're now at 95 and 94%. So hopefully you guys have seen a big improvement. Look, obviously that, they're going to be down sometimes. But we have a system in place that, once they are down, hopefully we can get them back up and running. And I don't know if you guys know, we have a page, fairly new. I mean, it's dedicated to elevator and escalator service. So you can go to our website at new.mta.info and just put in the station and find out the status of the elevator and the escalators before you guys leave your house. So if you're traveling and you rely on those amenities, you can find out, what the status is, especially if it's a long-term project. All right, and then so then I just have miscellaneous items. Number 10 was when will civil service tests for everyone from truck worker to driver be offered again? So that's actually a question for DCAS. They're the ones who administer the civil service tests. So I don't like to punt to another agency, but I would suggest you ask DCAS that question. And then the last question is, and I wonder who asked this question. It's number 31 regarding the scaffolding around 130 Livingston Street. So I can tell you that we are in the process of eliminating the scaffolding, and I am told by the construction manager that we should be completed by September of 2021. And the project is fully funded. You guys asked if this project is funded, and it is. It's fully funded. We're in the process of removing the scaffolding, and it's completed by September. And those are all the questions that I am prepared to answer today.
There's one more that wasn't read. Maybe we could speak to it a little bit, or maybe not. But are you working? So in our land use committee, developers come to community board all the time for rezonings, all the time, and there are opportunities for infrastructure improvements and other community benefits with rezonings. Are you in conversations with anybody, or might you be open to liaisoning either with city planning or with even Downtown Brooklyn Partnership to make sure that you're at the table for when these developers are asking for rezoning, so that we can get ADA elevators or other community benefits related to New York City Transit?
So we actually have two or three people who are really, that's kind of like their bailiwick, and we have dedicated staff that do that.
We've already secured, Andy, $500,000 for the MTA from a developer on Flatbush Avenue in front of the Nevins train station. I'm trying to work with Carol Ann to give you the address so that you can pull the contract as part of a negotiation for an upzoning. We secure it because it's right by the train station. We were able to secure. We actually asked the developer to put ADA and an elevator in his building, given that it's over the Nevins Avenue train station. Because our previous district manager was taking care of all the arrangements, we don't know what he did with all the paperwork. But we certainly have the address, and we should be able to find the information.
Okay.
I think it's the Slate project at 1 Flatbush, John.
Excuse me?
I think it's the Slate project at 1 Flatbush.
No, it's not. It's on Fulton Street. Excuse me, on Flatbush Avenue, over the Nevin Street train station.
Yeah, 1 Flatbush, right. That's where Slate built, the red and black building. I can talk to Carol Ann about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Andy, one more issue, and I'll leave you alone after this. York Street,
You never have to leave me
please
alone.
look for a new station inside maybe of Brooklyn Bridge Park. New station. Old station's not going to work. You own that land inside of Brooklyn Bridge Park. I know they're going to take my head off for even making this suggestion, but for the safety of the system, that York Street station has to be remedied. I think we need to look at every opportunity, look at a new station inside of Brooklyn Bridge Park.
Hello. If I may.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Goodman.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first time I'm coming to a meeting, and I have a question because I was led to believe that there's going to be some bus stop changes on Navy Street between Sands and Nassau. Okay, for bike lanes, for bike lane revision or whatever, and we are going to be losing parking spaces.
I'm going to stop you there, and that is a DOT issue, and Mr. Inglesby is from New York City Transit, MTA.
Okay, well, we're talking about an MTA bus. There are 3 buses that stop there.
Yes,
The
DOT
CB2?
determines the location of the bus stops, though.
DOT determines it?
Yes.
Okay, is there going to be a DOT meeting?
We had that in June of 2020, and we did register. I'm not sure if you were one of the people that sent Carol Ann a letter, but the community district office did get a lot of letters about that, about the bike lanes on Sand Street, and there were communications with the DOT reflecting the community opposition that came after our meeting in June.
Was there any resolution to it?
This was very recent. I'll let Carol Ann jump in as she was doing the communications.
Hi. So I communicated with DOT regarding the letters that we received, and they're trying to reach out. They did respond that they attempted to reach out on numerous occasions between June and July of 2020, but there was no response. I believe that they will attempt to reach out again.
Who did they reach out to?
I think what we're going to do is continue that conversation in the community forum part of the meeting so that we can focus Mr. Inglesby's time on MTA stuff, and then we can let him go, and then we can revisit that.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other comments for Andy or questions from members of the public even? Okay, then I would like to thank you, Andy, for your professionalism. You do your research, you come to us with the statistics that we ask for, and we understand you don't answer every single question, but you answer a good number of questions. So, thank you. It's a good relationship we have with you guys, and thank you for coming year after year.
Absolutely, and it's always a pleasure. You guys just call on me whenever you need me, and as I said, I promise you guys we will. We take very, very seriously, your concerns, especially about York Street. We hear you loud and clear. We will be coming back to the community and, to the local elected officials, the community board, as soon as we possibly can. Believe me, I'll be, texting people tonight just to recap this meeting and, just continue to make sure that the ball is rolling. And I know the ball is rolling about York Street. So we will be in touch very soon. And thank you guys. Continue to be well and safe. And, hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel with COVID, and we'll get through it day by day.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Caroline, looks like you have one last question.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Inglesby. Thanks for being here. There were a few questions that were marked in red that you couldn't answer today. Is there a different place we should request them?
No, I mean, I just didn't. I is the appropriate form for. I'll take a look at them. I'll take a look at them again, and I'll, if they're a little bit more extensive. So if there's something I can come back and answer, I will do so.
Okay, I really appreciate it, and I will send you a picture of a beautiful White Street station soon.
The beautiful which?
Hoyt Street station without the tar.
Oh yeah, please do, please do.
Can I?
Even if it's with the tar, send it to me.
One last thing, please.
Please go ahead.
I want to go back to the lack of signage about the removal of the bus stop. Can the MTA put it into their procedures that when a stop is being relocated, especially permanently, that 2 weeks prior to the relocation, a sign goes up and that the affected community board office is notified so that they can attempt to inform their constituents as best as possible?
Wait, that is a request?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, Carol Ann, we can certainly talk about this. I mean, regarding signage, bus stop signage is mostly DOT. So, I mean, we can, we work with DOT to replace these stops. DOT is the one who does the signage, relocates, any street furniture, but we can talk about this.
Can I ask one question before you leave? I know last year we spoke about Accessorize. Do you have any update on Accessorize, or can you give us an update about Accessorize? Or not at this time?
It's kind of a generic question. Like, what would you like to know?
Is the same day trip, is that going to open up for more individuals? Right now, the pilot program was closed down, and I wanted to know, is it going to open up in the future?
I'll have to find out.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Latrell. Okay, thank you, Andy.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll talk real soon, and everyone just continue to be well and safe.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
V69. Happy York Street.
So our next agenda item is the Planning Together review of the report. And Carol Ann, would you be able to talk to us or share with us the that PowerPoint that you emailed to us? How should we go about this? And you're muted, Carol Ann, if you're speaking to us.
Hi, I'm sorry. So we can go over the PowerPoint. Is everyone familiar with the Planning Together report being proposed by Speaker Johnson of the City Council? So I can't go into depth because I think it's very complex report, very nuanced, but there are a number of things in there that can affect community boards in the future, because one of the things being talked about in the proposal is the creation of a group created by the mayor to implement, to envision planning across the city, and they'll create sort of 3 plans and provide those. And I might be making this a little more simplified than it is. The issue is, I think most community boards are concerned with, is its impact on our role. We're already an advisory committee body, and this proposal is aiming to create another advisory body, providing resources there. So the question is, how will this impact community boards? That's one of the questions that we need to answer, or that we may want to respond to. If there's anyone else who has some further insight into the plan, I encourage you to add that.
Yeah.
I could speak to the. I could speak to that. This is a proposal from city council speaker.
Who's?
What?
I don't know who's speaking.
Oh, Ernest.
Oh, okay, Ernest.
All right. This is a grant proposal from city council speaker
Corey Johnson.
Corey Johnson. There was a public hearing on this. I can't remember the info number, but he has gotten a lot of pushback on this proposal because it basically creates a mini what's his name?
Robert Moses.
Robert Moses. How could I forget Robert Moses? Also, it's a violation. It attempts to undo the city charter in reference to community boards. It basically wants to say that community will have no more input in the development of their city. This what happened when Robert Moses was the master builder, and communities were basically excluded from any involvement because city was developed under the old border estimate process, which was declared illegal because again, it did not involve any involvement by the community. The city was basically, if you look at the city, was divided up and became segregated. It was a result of this master planning. It doesn't work. And part of that, when Moses got forced out by Rockefeller, and the city charter was declared, or at least the old border estimate was declared illegal because it did not provide for equal representation. You had the charter revision, and as part of that process, you have the creation of 59 community boards. It was an attempt to engage the community. It was not transparent, but this is an attempt to go back. Also, the timing is sort of off the mark since the speaker and the council are going to be term limited out along with this mayor. So practically this isn't going to go forward. I do remember that even city planning, Commissioner Lagos took a very strong issue with Corey Johnson, and a lot of the city council's co-sponsors started backing off. They know that it's not practical, but that's where it stands now.
Right.
Excuse me?
John, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Yes, you can.
Yes.
A good example of what we would be subjected to is the BQE. Robert Moses dictated the BQE. That's what we are stuck with today. However, if you note, when it gets to Brooklyn Heights, it becomes a cantilever because the folks in Brooklyn Heights were not going to have a roadway over their community. If we go back to what is being proposed, you would have one dictatorial body that will get recommendations from everyone else, but they make the ultimate decision. That's how the proposal is being interpreted. The speaker and a couple of other folks will give you a different explanation, but if you read the key components of the proposal, specifically the analysis done by the Real Estate Board of New York, that will give you a better synopsis of all you need to know. The program itself is way too difficult for folks who want to pay attention to every page. but the real estate board has done a very concise analysis that will hit all of the key. Thank you.
It's their plan.
Excuse me, Juliet, would you like for us to just go through the document a bit and see some of the details in there?
Yes, Carolyn, could you present us a little bit more of the proposed legislation?
Yeah, let's roll through the document from the top a bit.
Just briefly.
Yeah, so as most of us know, it's about creating a 10-year comprehensive planning cycle, because currently the city does planning through various agencies and they're not connected. So this is one of the things that this proposal is aiming to do, and also to correct what they see as some of the systemic disparities based on where people live. And they do cite in the report that when you look at where COVID was clustered, where you had dense rates of infections, that some of this is because of the way we plan. So planning is not equitable, resources are not equitably distributed. And this is some of the primary issues this proposal aims to address. So one of the things that they're saying is because the planning is so fragmented that we are not connecting it to the reality of budgeting. And roll. So that's one of the things. The group that will be created mostly by the mayor, and under the mayor's Office of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability, will be sort of like a mega community board, shall we say, a citywide community board, creating these vision plans for each district, citywide, and then supposedly broken down by district. Some of the issues that community boards are having regarding that is, where does that leave the community board? This group will be funded. Community boards have complained for a very long time of being underfunded. And so you're creating an advisory body over an advisory body. And that is where also hearings under the proposal, there must be a hearing as part of the acceptance, but that's the thing. It only specifies a single hearing, not multiple hearings. Scroll. Next.
Juliet, I have a question. I guess it's a question about when you amend the charter. What is the process of amending the charter? What are the procedures? Does anyone know the actual procedures of amending it? It said they're amending the charter. Does that have to go to the public for a vote to amend the charter, like a constitutional amendment? How is that working? Because this is quite complicated to discuss at this particular time for me specifically. But I was wondering what the actual process was.
It's John Quint. We've amended the city charter many times. They've had, and it almost sneaks through. I mean, term limits was part of the amendment of the city charter. It's a ballot question that's on the ballot, usually in November, but it doesn't have to be. It's on any city ballot, and not a primary, any general election, which is
whether
November.
it's one omnibus change or the individual changes voted on really depends on what the city council wants to put before, or the budget or the charter amendment commission wants to put before them, whether it's individually voted on or voted as one omni change. Yeah, so ultimately it has to be voted on.
So Carolyn, go ahead and continue. if you have anything additional to add.
Well, that's just the core of it. I also created some pros and cons statements out of the document itself. If I can, these things don't come up. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it before, but now I'm in a different space. Just give me 1 second. I emailed it out a while ago.
And while you're looking for that, I would just like to comment that, I understand also all of the negatives, and I think that the community voice is very important, obviously. I think one of the benefits, and this might be in your list of pros, is that not all community boards are like Community Board 2. Not all of them have diversity of voices and consider lots of different factors in being accepting and open to change and differences in our district. There are some community boards that want no affordable housing. They want no shelters. They want, they don't want, and they kill plans for those things. So, there is a value to comprehensive planning that, can broaden the city's needs for certain of the city priorities and distribute that among neighborhoods that they're currently not able to do because not all community boards are like Community Board 2. So that's just
Could I ask?
Caroline.
Yes.
Caroline. Yeah, you have the pros and the cons on page 15 to 17.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, there
also
you got it. There you go. It's there.
Yeah. So one of the benefits of the plan was, or one of the in the proposal, I should say, is more meaningful community involvement, which is what Juliet was getting to. That it would allow for more people to be involved. And as I mentioned previously, it's about creating equity. At least that's one of the desired outcomes, right? One of its goals. They cited Seattle, which follows a plan such as this, and Seattle is considered a model city for urban planners. One of the things that it talked about was core values: community, developing strong connections, environmental stewardship, with an eye to, of course, protecting the city with climate change as well, economic opportunity and security. They talk about tying this to, housing. Where is it produced? How many units do we need, and where are we putting it? Race and social equity, of course, by using planning as a tool to reduce disparities within our community. Some of the criticisms of the plan, and this is from various articles, is that, and this refers to what Ernie mentioned, that it continues the city's method of planning using developer-driven actions. There's also the thought that the community involvement would not be as engaging as is stated in the plan, but would continue to center around community boards that are sometimes unrepresentative of the community, as Juliet mentioned, and also underfunded. They also mentioned, can I just finish these and then I'll be quiet? They also mentioned that this might be no different to the 197A plans, which costly, take a really long time to complete. And the city sort of looks at it and says, oh, okay, which is one of the things with this planning proposal, is that the city can go ahead, or the city council can say, oh, let's see how this aligns with what we have planned. And then like, oh, it doesn't align, and it doesn't align in these ways, and then proceed with the plan that they have, because that's all it calls for. One of the things also said is that the zoning resolution needs to be revised. And there's a thought process that should be revised before they even begin this process. And that essentially all it does is create another bureaucratic layer.
Yeah, basically this proposal is a poison pill because it does target, in terms of, community growth, planning. Guess what it does? It targets particular neighborhoods because it's profitable. You had a discussion a few moments ago about the York Street station and its overcrowding because of the overdevelopment. This proposal will compound that because these developers are looking to maximize their profits because they know, although they didn't build or even add to the transit infrastructure, that they're exploiting it. They are overbuilding over these transit hubs, so they can deliver their goods. There's a connection between land use and transportation. If you don't believe me, you ask related developers who built Hudson Yard. Hudson Yards was not profitable until Mayor Bloomberg worked his magic with Goldman Sachs and the MTA to bring the number 7 train down to that location. How do I know that? Because I had some money and I was going to buy some bonds with Hudson Yards, and I couldn't figure out how they're going to repay me, or at least repay the bonds, until Mr. Bloomberg worked this magic. That's the issue. So this is not going to help development. This is just a poison pill. There's a lot more to discuss, and it's still this top-down planning of a city. Cities grow organically. There's no mention of you don't have a community, there's no mention of not-for-profit organization. If they want to buy, if it's a school or a church or a cultural center, they can't afford land in downtown Brooklyn. You just have more of a building. But there's a difference between, and I always say, not-for-profits build communities like Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Bedford-Stuyvesant, and developers build buildings. And that's the conflict, and there's no community development. This is all top-down planning, and it's comfort. When I say anything from Corey Johnson and Brad Landers, my antennas go up. These guys are so tied in with the real estate board, they can hardly breathe. So, we should take some time and, peruse this and have a full discussion at the board.
So Carolyn, is the idea that we're just reviewing this somewhat in committee and then there's going to be larger discussion in the general meeting, or what's the intent with our review of this?
We're hoping for a discussion in the general meeting that will present both sides of view from experts. I simply provided not my personal thoughts, I want to put that on record, but that of people who are considered experts and that which was stated in the plan.
Then if we can move on from this, since it's going to be taken up in the general meeting, I would like to, unless somebody urgently feels like they have to speak to this some more. Okay, great.
I have one item.
Okay, yes,
I'd like to ask Mr. Ernest Augustus if we could use some of his bonds towards the York Street station.
Yes, but by the time I decided to buy, I got kicked out from Merrill Lynch because I wasn't a big player at that point.
It's probably good because I'm sure they're losing money hand over fist over there. So, okay, great. For chairperson's report, I was hoping that maybe Cheryl could speak a little bit about the 84th precinct.
I see Esther Blunt is raising her hand.
Oh, yes, Esther.
I'm sorry, Juliet. I just want to
No,
say
I'm sorry I
one
missed
thing.
you.
Caroline mentioned that they use Seattle as an example in their presentation. Seattle's homeless rate, I don't know what kind of planning they doing in Seattle, but Seattle has 10 cities. Their homeless rate is off the charts. And again, real estate developers keep saying that they're going to affordable housing is part of their planning, but yet nobody can afford it. And you got all these buildings going up and the homeless rate is going higher. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Juliet wanted me to just give a brief preview about the 84th precinct community council meeting that we had last Tuesday. At the meeting, the president gave out information with vaccination sites. There was also a presentation.
You're cutting in and out, Cheryl. You're cutting in and out your voice.
Oh, let me raise my speaker a little bit more. Okay, hold on. Louder now?
It's great when you face us, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Chief Royster gave a presentation on bikes. She is the NYPD Transportation Bureau Chief. So she gave a discussion on bike safety, bike rules, and bike regulations. Of course, there was a heated discussion about the cops parking and double parking on all the sidewalks near the precincts and e-bikes riding on the sidewalks. But I think she is focused on correcting problems with bikes. She came across as being very believable, that she really take an interest in to correct some of the problems. So we just have to wait and see. But I don't think the answer as to why we have double parked cop cars was really given. It was like, yeah, she knows that's a problem and she knows she has to work on that, but that is going to take a lot of work because, you know, cops, they're not going to stop until they start. Maybe they feel it in their pockets, you know, you get fined for parking on the sidewalk, but that's how that went. Then we had the presentation of the crime statistics by Captain Rana, and Caroline did send that out. He went over that. But the major question of the night was, what is happening with that the cop who drew his gun when the people on the protesters when they asked him about his mask? And as Chief Royster and Captain Rana explained, that there is an internal investigation going right now. So there is no, they can't say what the end result will be as yet. This investigation has to play out. But we were not happy with that answer. The main thing is that they want to see him fired. But as you know, when you're dealing with cops, you have to deal with unions, and you have to wait until this investigation is done. When the investigation is done, and then they'll give the results, we can go from there. But right now, there's no updates. That was the meeting.
You want to add anything to that, who may have been there? Okay.
I have an 88th precinct update.
Yes, John, please give that.
Okay. Today, I met with Captain Malcolm. We are dealing with the issue of the gangs in the Fort Greene public housing projects, including Ingersoll, Whitman, and Farragut. They apparently have formed gangs that rap against each other. The raps are done over the internet. YouTube video. They often result because they are intended to disparage and insult each other. They result in shootings. So we are looking at a plan to try and deal with that. it's certainly a very intense issue. The goal is to figure out how you can get and infiltrate the Fort Greene public housing projects. Can you do it through parents? Can you do it through the associations that exist in each development? And by the way, all the suggestions that came up came with major hurdles. But we have a plan that incorporates GMAC on Myrtle Avenue. That's the gangsters making astronomical changes. And that organization is comprised of a host of ex-felons that are funded by the city, and they are charged with going into public housing projects and trying to intercede on some level. But most of their work is done after a shooting. So this would be a different perspective. It's extremely complicated. No one really knows a whole bunch about how that works, as though we have not been able to actually infiltrate the public housing projects. So this is just another opportunity to try and get into those projects and make a difference. And Captain Malcolm is asking us to work with him to head this project up. That's it.
Thank you, John. I think that's probably the most important way to address the gun violence in this neighborhood. So it's good that they're figuring out the social media to be able to understand what's going on. So that's the first step. Carol Ann emailed us the crime statistics, and just overall crime is down year over year, February 21 versus February 20, and year to date by 26%. And that's interesting. You know, we keep hearing about how crime is going up overall, but in the statistics are showing that there's a decrease.
I have, Juliet, the captain told us that there are certain crimes that are not reported in the newspapers, and that shooting crimes are definitely going up.
Yep, that's our experience, you know, for sure. And on a more local basis, I think these numbers are citywide that she may have shared, right, Caroline? Yes. And it does appear that the gun arrests are increasing as well. There were 400 gun arrests in just the month of February 2021, not in particularly our district though. You know, I you know, before we move off the subject of public safety, you know, I just do want to note the you know, the hate crimes that are happening against Asian Americans. Are not just happening in Georgia, you know, like that incident in Georgia is really horrific, but you know, it's happening in New York City too. So you know, just want to recognize that, you know, over this past year with COVID and with the president blaming China, and Asian Americans are being targeted, even if, you know, even if it doesn't rise all the way to the level of a reported hate crime, but there's a lot of antagonism that comes with this scapegoating, unfortunately. Okay, I would like to open it up for other business from community board or committee members. Yes, Doreen.
We're having a lot of activity like after hours, like between 12 and 3, could be during the week. Ton of graffiti. I mean, I have like about 25 pictures of new graffiti, and there's a garage next to where I live. I mean, it's ongoing. It's almost like, you know, it could stop, you know, using Dumbo as a, oh, we have to have events or programming. You know, I was very interested in last month's meeting that, you know, we were talking about the street closures, and the bids came, and, you know, by that map, it would be like every single street going to the park in and out of Dumbo would be closed off and permanently have, you know, I just kind of, I'm not blaming the graffiti and the, using this as a destination now for people to hang out, but we, my association and the Vinegar Hill Association, we meet regularly, and we've all been talking about that there's really a lack of police patrolling. And I'm sure there might be a short staff, but it's ongoing. We used to always, I've lived here a long time, we always see cars, police cars, but not at all. So, I mean, we're going to reach out to the precinct and, compared to a lot of things that are going on, the graffiti's like the least of it, but, the whole broken windows thing, about the environment, but it's rampant. It's shocking, really. So I just thought I'd share that. I don't know if other communities are experiencing that, but it's, it's like this hangout. You can hear people, just coming here and hanging out. And, I've seen people tagging, but these are like, they're pretty elaborate graffiti, markings. So anyway, that's it.
Thanks, Doreen. I have seen it over by the Navy Yard too.
Yeah.
Any other business? Okay, I'm going to open it up for community forum for community members. Okay. Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see your hand. Could go ahead and speak up. Oh, Nicole.
Can you hear me?
I see it now. I'm sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
No worries. Yes, I think this is my fourth or so meeting. So I'm not super familiar with what like the kind of overall structure is yet. But I was curious as to what, or if you guys have sort of like, I guess, metrics that you kind of measure or take into consideration. I did hear you mention some of the crime stats. So I was curious also about, for example, car crashes, injuries on the street, air quality, things. I don't know if air quality is in your purview, but it's related to transportation, certainly. Bus speeds. If there's any sense of like or initiative within the community to monitor those on an ongoing basis and work to proactively improve those numbers, rather than maybe kind of pick things off one by one. So again, I'm not sure because I haven't been to very many meetings, but can you let me know if that is something that is happening? Or
yeah, I love that idea. I love that idea. I mean, we review the crime statistics usually every meeting. And then as you may have heard if you were on for the MTA portion of the meeting, we have a presenter, and this particular one we did ask a whole series of questions in advance, so he was able to bring those statistics over to us so that we could review them, particularly about the MTA. Yeah, we don't have like ad hoc committees that review the crash statistics that are on the DOT's website. You know, they are accessible. So, you know, happy to engage with that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what that would look like in terms of what is possible to be done about them. This is just one example. Bus speeds is an important one, but I think, you know, nobody likes crashes. So, you know, like for example, just last month there were 128 just in our community board, which is a lot in a month. So what is the capacity of the community board to react to those and make improvements? I put a link in the chat there to a site called Crash Mapper, and it maps all the crashes out, and it says if anybody was injured or killed. We had I think 40 injuries last month as well. So what can this community board do to work proactively to get those numbers down month over month?
Yeah, I think that's really great. You know, maybe this is something that we can review. I'm not going to be chairperson for very long, frankly, but I like the idea as something that could possibly be reviewed, you know, by the future chair of the committee on a ongoing basis, like we review the crime statistics. So leave it at that. But I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. And just as an aside, I support the comprehensive plan.
Can you state why? Because it would be good to understand some pro comments on that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I think similarly to stuff like with the crashes, a lot of community board planning, and I'm very new to this, it seems to be quite reactive. And I think the only way for a city to be proactive is to go on, Ernest, and I see you leaning towards the camera, is to have a city-wide vision. Nothing happens in a community board in a bubble. Any housing, for example, or street widening or closing, it affects other places. So the Upper West Side or something says no homeless shelters here, or no apartments here, no more buildings. Those people go somewhere, and it affects other parts of the city. So somebody needs to be on top of that, and understand how the different neighborhoods are. No, we don't live on an island. No community board is an island. So I would say that my vision for what a community board could be, is seeing how things are implemented, that the city wants to execute, not being necessarily able to say no unless there was like really strong opposition, which a lot of even non-community board groups do all the time, in other organized groups.
Thanks, Nicole. It's good to hear both sides of the situation.
Could I make a suggestion, Julia?
Wait,
I would suggest.
Ernie, just one second. Nicole, are you a resident of Community District 2?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Just to understand, are you affiliated with any organization or just coming as a resident?
I'm just a resident.
Okay. Yes, Ernie?
I would just suggest that Nicole really sit down and get a copy of the city charter, the one that was amended in 1989, and read the charter and understand what's in the charter and the function of the community board. There's a lot of political history that goes with this. It's not a matter of being reactive. It's, it goes back to the fact that you have Native New Yorkers who are both vested and invested in the city, who had fought for reforms of the charter, and that's important to understand.
Okay. I think it's good to also, let her say her piece.
Highest homeless population. New York City has the highest homeless population of any city. So if we're concerned about homeless people, whatever we've been doing.
I'm not concerned about homicide. I'm talking about city development.
Thank you,
Homicide
Nicole.
is a distraction at this point.
Thank you, Nicole. We appreciate your comments.
Homeless population. We have the highest homeless population.
And we've been addressing that for 30 years. I ought to know. I worked on homelessness.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you. It's 8 o'clock, which is the perfect time to wrap up the meeting. The minutes of February 18th, 2021, I sent John and the district office a note to change the word accident to collision or crash or something like that. And if anybody has any other comments, you can send them. But can I get an approval of the minutes? A motion?
So moved.
Brian, great. And anybody would like to motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sid, Ernie, thank you. John, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, not everyone. All right, good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.